Hello everyone, welcome to IT Career. So today we'll discuss Spring Core interview questions and answer. The most commonly asked Spring Core interview questions and answer. So let's see. What is POJO? Plain old Java object class. The Java class without any specialities. It is an ordinary Java class. The Java class which is not extending from any technology or framework API and not implementing any technology or framework API interface is called POJO class. What is POJI? Plain old Java interface. The interface without any specialities. It is an ordinary interface which is not extending from any technology or framework API interface. Nothing but POJI class. What is Java Bean? The Java class which is developed with some standards like class must be a public class and should not be a final or abstract class. Class can implement serializable interface if needed. Every properties must be taken as private and non-static. That property should have public setter and getter methods. What is a Spring Bean? The Java class whose object is created and managed by Spring container. A Spring Bean can be a user-defined class or predefined class or third-party class. We cannot take abstract class or interface as a Spring Bean because we cannot create object of abstract class or interface. Spring Bean is defined with Bean ID and it should be unique within an IOC container. What is a Spring Framework? Why we use a Spring Framework? Spring is an open source, lightweight, loosely coupled application framework. By using a Spring, we can develop all kind of applications. A standalone application, web applications and enterprise application. Why we use a Spring Framework? Because Spring is an open source, lightweight, loosely coupled application framework. It reduces the boilerplate code problem. It simplifies the application development, having ability to generate common logic of application internally and dynamically. Spring provides two lightweight containers, BeanFactory containers and ApplicationContext container, which can be activated in any application by just creating object for BeanFactory class or ApplicationContext predefined class. What are the advantages of a Spring framework? Spring is a loosely coupled. Spring support dependency injection. Spring is an open source. Configuration is easy in Spring. Spring has layered architecture, clear separation of all layers. Spring avoid boilerplate code problems. Spring provide transaction management. Spring support aspect-oriented programming. Spring is a flexible, secure and fast application framework. Spring provide 7 modules: Spring Core, Spring AOP, Spring Web MVC, Spring DAO, Spring ORM, Spring Context and Spring Web. These modules provides different platforms to develop different enterprise applications. What is a Spring container or IOC container? Any Java class or application that can manage lifecycle of given resource is called container. A Spring container will perform Spring Bean lifecycle management on a Spring Bean class. It will take care of everything from object creation to object destruction. A Spring container simplifies, automate the Spring Bean lifecycle management and dependency management based on the input instruction collected from the Spring Bean lifecycle configuration file. Spring gives two lightweight containers, BeanFactory and ApplicationContext. How many types of IOC container do we have? We have two types of IOC container, BeanFactory and ApplicationContext. BeanFactory container means it is the IOC container that is created by creating object of a class that implements BeanFactory interface, defined in org.springframework.beans.factory.factory package, which perform Spring Bean lifecycle management and dependency lookup and dependency injection. ApplicationContext. ApplicationContext container means it is the IOC container that is created by creating ApplicationContext object. Application context object is the object of Java class that implements org.springframework.context.applicationContext interface. It is the sub-interface of BeanFactory interface. Application context container can perform all the operations of BeanFactory container and also perform the additional operations like pre-instantiation, eager instantiation of singleton Spring Bean. It has ability to work with properties file, support for internationalization, support for event handling, event publishing, event processing. It has ability to start, stop and close the container. What is the difference between BeanFactory and application context? BeanFactory is an interface defined in org.springframework.beans.factory.beanfactory package. Application context is an interface defined in org.springframework.context.applicationContext package. BeanFactory is a fundamental container that provides the basic functionality for managing beans. Application context is an advanced container that extends the BeanFactory that provide all basic functionality and adds some advanced feature. BeanFactory doesn't support internationalization. Application context support internationalization. BeanFactory doesn't support annotation based dependency injection. Application context support annotation based dependency injection. BeanFactory supports only singleton and prototype bean scope. Application context supports all types of bean scope: singleton, prototype, request, session and application. What are the features of application context container? Bean instantiation or wiring, automatic bean post processor registration, automatic bean factory post processor registration, support annotation based configuration in bean auto wiring, convenient message source access, support for internationalization. Application event publication supports all types of bean scopes such as singleton, prototype, request, session and application. Supports aggressive or eager loading. What is dependency lookup? Dependency lookup is an approach where we get the resource after demand. Target class should have to write the logic to search and get dependent class object, like a student getting material by asking for it. There is a various way to get the resource by using new keyword, by calling a static factory method. But dependency lookup approach makes the code tightly coupled. Dependency management is all about assigning dependent class object to target class object. What is dependency injection? How we can achieve dependency injection in Spring? The underlying server or container dynamically creates and assigns the dependent class object to target class object. It makes our code loosely coupled. There are multiple ways of performing dependency injection: by using setter injection, by using constructor injection, by using interface injection, by using method injection, by using lookup method injection. Spring support dependency injection on simple properties, means primitive data types or a string. Reference data types like object type properties, collection properties, array, list, set, map and etc. What is setter injection? When we use for the setter injection, the process of injecting dependency by using setter method, nothing but setter injection. If bean class contain more than one property and we don't want to participate all the property in dependency injection, then we need to go for setter injection. What is constructor injection? When we go for the constructor injection, the process of injecting the dependencies of an object through its constructor arguments, nothing but constructor injection. If bean class contains only one property, if all the properties of bean class should participate in dependency injection, then we can go for constructor injection, because constructor injection is very faster than setter injection. What is the difference between setter injection and constructor injection? In setter injection, dependencies are injected by using setter method. In constructor injection, dependencies are injected by using constructor arguments. Setter injection makes bean class object as mutable. We can change it. Constructor injection makes bean class object as immutable. We cannot change it. Setter injections perform injection after creating bean class object, so it is bit delayed injection. Constructor injection perform injection while creating bean class object, so no delay in injection. Setter injection supports cyclic dependency injection. Constructor injection doesn't support cyclic dependency injection. If we use constructor and setter injection both, setter injection will be used because setter method will be executed after constructor. If we use constructor and setter injection, constructor injection will not be used. What is bean life cycle in Spring? Keep tracking all the activities from birth to death, means object creation to object destruction. Spring Bean class object creation to object destruction. The Spring Bean allowed two life cycle method, init method and destroy method. Init method execute after all the dependent values are injected. So it can be used to verify whether injections are done properly or not, with appropriate values or not. It is useful to initialize those properties which have not participated in dependency injection. Destroy method executes when IOC container is about to destroy our bean class object. It is useful to place uninitialization logic, like nullifying bean properties and releasing non-Java resources that are associated with bean class. What is bean wiring in Spring? Configuring beans and their properties for dependency injection in the Spring configuration file is called bean wiring. We have two approaches for bean wiring: explicit wiring and auto wiring. Explicit wiring means that you can explicitly wire the bean that you want by using property and constructor-org tags. For dependency injection configuration, explicit dependencies in property and constructor-org settings always override auto wiring. What is auto wiring in Spring? Auto wiring in Spring performs automatic dependency injection. The IOC container automatically detects dependent class object and inject them to target class. @AutoWire annotation perform by type, by name, constructor mode of auto wiring, detecting the dependent beans dynamically without using property and constructor-org tags. It can be applied at field level, constructor level, setter method level and arbitrary method level. But it cannot use to inject values to simple properties. It can be used to inject values only object type. Simple property means primitive and string values. By default, AutoWire performs by type mode of auto wiring. If you are using @AutoWire annotation, we don't need to write the code to inject the dependency explicitly. What is by type mode of auto wiring in Spring? By type mode of auto wiring performs setter injection. Target class property type and dependent class must be matched or must be compatible with each other. By type mode inject the object dependency according to type. It internally calls setter methods. There is a possibility of getting ambiguity problems. To solve ambiguity problems that raises, we have to place primary equal to true. What is by name mode of auto wiring in Spring? The by name mode injects the object dependency according to name of the bean. In such case, property name and bean name must be same. It internally calls setter methods. There is no possibility of getting ambiguity problem. How can we disable auto wiring in Spring? We can disable auto wiring by using auto wire equal to no. It means no wiring. So thank you for watching this video. Please subscribe IT Career for technical interview preparation.